Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, Terry Fontenot is off to an amazing start, and there's a message behind it.
And let's face it, sometimes you go to State Farm to see Trae Young. Sometimes, like tonight, you might go to see Anthony Edwards. And the NBA and NBPA are making sure if you're there for 2 stars, going forward, you get them both.
And last but not least, and for the culture, I think I want robot umpires. That's all coming up next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. And as you can see, my main woman is back in the fold. Tenitra Batiste is back from, Birmingham. She was down there with ESPN doing her thing, getting her TV stuff on. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned for that. But first, we got to start off with T. Legal tampering begins today, which is probably the weirdest named period of the NFL offseason. But the Atlanta Falcons are off to an amazing start, T. They give a 5-year, $105 million deal to Chris Lindstrom. $63 million of it is guaranteed. And I think that for me, and I know for you, probably for you as well, I think that when Terry Fontenot makes sure that Chris Lindstrom is the first deal that comes out or first deal that's announced, I think this sends a message that's saying, hey, we are all about getting our guys sold up front and also taking care of our guys who have performed on the field.
Yeah, and you may take it as a message as well that I'm telling you who I believe is the best player in the trenches outside of Grady Jarrett. Let's just be honest. And that's Chris Lindstrom. And that's going across, of course, both sides of the trenches when I say that. But that said, my other thought went to, still waiting on that Caleb McGarry announcement there. That's where my first thought went, because when I started thinking about Chris Lindstrom and I started kind of looking across the line, if you will, personally, I think that they're pretty safe at center, regardless of, it may not be great, but it's solid enough. It's solid enough. Yeah. So that, right. If they want to go out late in free agency, or if they want to go out in the draft, maybe in the third or so rounds, because if they're going to go O-line first or second, it shouldn't be a center. Let's say it that way. Right.
Indeed. Yes.
But I'm looking at the guy next to him, and that's where my eye is intrigued. But the reason I say that, Jarvis, is because I agree with you. I think that going out and being the first announcement on legal tampering day to say, hey, we're locking our guy Chris Lindstrom in, that does send a signal. But I also think it sends a signal that they're ready to play for parting ways with players early. They're not going to sit around and wait, and they're going to be looking to say, hey, yeah, we're still going to do some little steps. Like you said, Jonnu Smith, we just got word that Calais Campbell has been released from the Ravens. So you never know. They may do another one of their now famous, one and done deals, if you will. But yes, I like the aggressiveness that we're seeing. I think this is really just to put everyone on notice. Yeah, the Falcons are ready to deal and do business.
And you know what? I think you bring up an interesting point about Caleb McGarry as far as, hey, we're going to obviously there's still a chance that they may re-sign him. But I think that the reason why I feel like Chris Lindstrom was put out there is the consistency piece. That is the thing that Terry and Arthur Smith, they value that consistency. And that's one of the reasons why they, talked about how that was one of the things that made them kind of gravitate towards Desmond Ridder in the draft last year, through that pre-draft process, that consistency. Every time they had interactions with Desmond, he was the exact same way. And that's what Chris Lindstrom has been on the field ever since he stepped on the field.
Yes,
Remember,
absolutely.
this dude has been so consistent, and just every year just quietly. No sacks given up last
Yep.
year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then this season right here, one of the best graded guards in the NFL. And
Yes.
now he's the highest paid guard in NFL history with an average of $21 million in new money per year. So those are some of the things that I feel like the Falcons they're doing the right thing, and I feel like Terry Fontenot is gotten off to an amazing start, because at the end of the day, you know, you want to be able to beat people up front, and then and Chris Lindstrom is a great start. Like you started off with last year with giving Grady his money and Jake Matthews, like, hey, letting them know, hey, here's some little something. Let you know that we want you to be around for at least until the end of your career. And I think that, you know, the Falcons are rewarding the right people, and I think that them not franchise tagging Caleb McGarrett, excuse me, I think that was the right move. And if they're able to get to a deal, cool. If they're not, I'm totally fine with that.
Yes, same. I think either way, we have seen more than enough capable people and capable players rather in the draft, or who may come up in free agency that can more than fill that position, and maybe, just maybe, keep it solid, of course, as far as the making sure that you have what you need in run blocking.
Yes.
Maybe you'll get somebody that'll give you a little bit more in pass blocking. And so if you can even get a hair better, why wouldn't you? So yes, I do like the fact that that is where that is. We'll find out more. And you know that as ATL Day Ones finds out, we will share that information with you and also give you our reaction.
And also, and then as far as the whole Jonnu Smith piece, I thought that was something interesting to that move as well. So, you know, Jonnu Smith just signed a 4-year deal for like $50 million with the New England Patriots back in 2021. So, and it didn't quite work out that well for him. So, he was willing to restructure his contract to come down to Tennessee, because I think his last year with Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. He had 8 touchdowns. So he's trying to figure out, like, how can I get back to some real production? And I think that and I think that says a lot about Arthur Smith as far as this whole free agency thing, because at the end of the day, the money matters. Don't get me wrong, but it's all about who's calling his plays if you're an offensive player, and it's all about who's calling plays if you're a defensive player as well. With Ryan Nielsen at the DC, we'll see if he's able to attract a guy like David Onyemata, or if they're interested in Marcus Davenport. So the coaching matters. It's all about the Jimmys and Joes, but coaching matters. And I think that the fact that Jonnu Smith was willing to restructure his contract, and, you know, and the Falcons were able to, you know, give up not that much compensation for him, I think that says a lot about Arthur. And then that's what you want if you're a Falcons fan, saying, hey, we got the coach that people want to play for. And I think that's the bottom line in this, when you talking about moving around and picking up necessary guys to help you win.
Yeah, I think that when the player can hit the ground running too, because he's going to have some familiarity with the philosophy and, dare I say, play calling of Arthur Smith. So I do think that helps as well, because the more, and that goes back to a different aspect of consistency, right? Because you're bringing in a player that's going to have that familiarity. And I think that's important. And I also think it goes back to the point I made earlier, which is there are pieces that you can add to, right? There's nothing wrong with adding to the tight end room. Not a bad idea at all. But ultimately speaking, we'll make some moves here and there. But I thought this was hilarious. And follow me on why I thought this was hilarious. Okay. But very telling in the way the Falcons are subtly doing things differently. So a video comes out about an hour ago, just before the Chris Lindstrom announcement. And it basically says, Falcon script. It's got NFL at the top of it, and it says confidential. And then it's just this dark room and this music playing. The reason I say that is because it felt to me very similar to what Darren Eales used to do for Atlanta United. He would give us a peek, and then about 10, 20, 30 minutes later, he'd drop a bomb of a signing, right? That's what I feel like. That was indicative of the mindset of the Falcons. Again, these are just subtle things that Jarvis and I are mentioning, whether it's the Jonnu Smith signing or whether it's this video that the Falcons dropped. The important piece of all of it is that there are new sheriffs in town that aren't like, oh my God, we've done it this way 19 times. So we've got to do it this way again. They're willing to try different things. They're willing to evolve and acknowledge, hey, we need to move in this direction, or maybe we don't need to move in this direction. And again, when I saw that video drop, that was the first thing I thought about was this just feels different. Can't put a word on it yet. Jarvis and I will probably have that word later on in the week once the 15th hits and we really start to see things flow, because that, of course, is the official start of the new NFL year. But again, we're starting to see signs that the expectations are different and the bar is being set higher in Flowery Branch.
Yeah, and that's what you want, because like back-to-back years of 7 and 10, that ain't gonna cut it. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you can only say, "Hey, we're strapped for cash. We're trying to get some contracts off the book." You only can say that for so long, and now that everybody knows what it is, $62 million. Hey, some draft.
Something crazy. I wrote the number out and I was like,
it's like a crazy number, right? So, and now that you got money to take care of the good ones, that more than likely, offensive guard like Lindstrom, he at least got 3 to 4 years of good football left in him, barring any type of injury. So, all the decisions that are being made right now, with as far as Terry Fontenot goes, and this organization and the head coach Arthur Smith. I think you guys are going to like what we see in the next 48 hours or so. But coming up next, I think, the Hawks, Trae Young, Anthony Edwards is going down in State Farm Arena tonight. We'll talk about that next. But first, got to talk to you about FanDuel.com, because it is the #1 sports book in America. And the NBA season is winding down, y'all. The playoffs are right around the corner. Oh, my goodness. That's why the Hawks are trying to figure out their lives before they head into the playoffs and see if they can actually show some and prove something to the rest of the NBA. But new customers for FanDuel, listen up. Here's what we got for you. You got a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and it's super easy to use. Hey, you can bet on anything you want, from the money line to points scored, threes drained. How many threes Anthony Edwards going to hit? How many threes Trae Young going to hit? You can do all of that right now and figure it out and try to win some money at FanDuel.com/lockedon. So, also on top of that, you can combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So what are you waiting on? I'm forcing you to go to FanDuel right now, because you don't want to miss out on the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bet, when you can go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Official indeed. And it is official that the Hawks are back home tonight. As you mentioned, Anthony Edwards will touch down with the Wolves. They're both actually 34 and 34. So it's a very evenly matched contest, if you will, tonight. Now, of course, the Hawks are coming off of, it's an interesting last couple of games, because definitely you're still excited and appreciative of what the Hawks were able to do against the Wizards twice in the district, because they weren't able to necessarily do that against the Wizards before. But they lost to the Celtics. That was a tough one, because they battled their way back into contention and almost getting that win Saturday night. However, couldn't quite get it done. You hope to see them get it tonight. But in that stretch of games, the 4 games on the road, and even leading up to the first game back home Saturday, Jarvis, was there anyone whom you saw that maybe has stood out for you, and you're starting to see that uptick under Quin Snyder?
I start with the obvious one, Trae Young. This dude is averaging about 26 points a game. The thing that is the real key for me is that 39% shooting from 3-point land. That is the absolute. That makes me smile. That makes me happy, because when Trae starts to hitting some of those half court shots from the logo shot 3-pointers, that's how you know his game is really starting to come back around to fruition, what we're used to, right? And that was part of the game that made him so dangerous in 2021 when they went up to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. And when you think about, I've even seen him starting to move off the ball a little bit more, as far as when he doesn't have the ball in his hand, he's moving around it. Then also, here's another number that I forgot to drop on you. He's averaging 2 steals a game in the last 10 games. What? Like that's so when you talk about the Snyder effect, I think I'm gonna start using that, as we go along here. If I continue to see this type of progression from the star, the guy, Trae Young,
Yeah,
and
because
yes, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that right now. Yeah,
right, because we've never seen the really at any point this season the 39% clip from three. Now we've seen the steals clip, but it
yeah,
was earlier in the season, and then
yeah.
as the season wore on, slowly but surely, it just kind of trailed off. And I'll give another Captain Obvious, Saddiq Bey. And the reason I
Oh
say
my
Captain
gosh.
Obvious is
Oh,
because okay,
that's
he did kind of sneak in during the latter
yeah.
part of the Nate McMillan era, but he still has gone off since
Off.
Quin Snyder has been there because Quin Snyder has figured out how to put him in the right spaces and places without impeding on John Collins too much, but on the same token, with making John Collins aware, like, hey, if you're not
Hey,
giving me
bro.
what I need, I'm going to have to sit you down. I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
with Saddiq Bey. I'm going to go with Onyeka Okongwu. I'm going to go wherever I need to at the four spot to get what I need from the four spot. So I do like Saddiq Bey as that guy who is also a highlight and has been sort of a highlight reel during the Quin Snyder era. Now, you could ask the same of someone who might need to step up tonight, and that could be during the Quin Snyder era because that person has not figured it out, or it could be because Quin Snyder hasn't figured that person out. But who would that be for you where you're like, okay, I'm still not seeing what I need to see from you now that there's been a switch on the sidelines?
I think it's probably the guy you just mentioned, John Collins. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's what that's like. I hate to be like I said, I hate to be Captain Obvious, but that's kind of what it is because Quin Snyder is the thing about I like about Snyder is the fact that he's able to have real conversations
Mhm.
with guys like Collins because
Yeah.
Collins needs that. He needs somebody to be straight with him, and
Yeah.
he's come out and said that he respects that and everything like that. So I think that if Quinn continues to be up forthcoming when it comes to your play. Here's why I didn't have, or this was particular matchup that I saw. That's why I took
Mhm.
you out of rotation in Miami. Okay, cool. Now you come back and you start shooting well against the from 3-point line after that, and I think that he's the type of guy that needs that because John
Mhm.
Collins has been up and down this year, and
Yeah.
we've seen some
Yeah.
things from that we like from JC to start the year. He was we're like, dang, this dude's gonna be one of the better defenders in the NBA, and then he all of a sudden just fell back into that nothingness of
Mhm.
John Collinism, like
Yeah.
and he just want to talk all the doggone time. But I think that if there's somebody that I feel like that is on notice,
Mhm.
and he should play that way and be motivated through that way, it has to be John Collins because there are some guys that are really starting to come along ever since Snyder took over, like you mentioned, Saddiq Bey, and also a guy like Jalen Johnson, who's built just like JC and is willing to lock down on D on the
Yes.
perimeter T, and that's just
Yeah.
something that is going to be a very interesting thing to watch for the rest of the season. But yeah, JC, you don't notice Jack?
Yeah. Yeah. He would be my choice as well because everyone's always saying, I mean, think about it. We had that conversation before Nate came along. Okay, well, now that Nate is the full on head coach and he'll get a full year with John Collins, we're going to see that uptick. We're going to see that JC on a consistent basis, whom we thought we would see. We just never quite saw him consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's Quin Snyder. We're now several games in, 5 games in, and we
Yeah.
still haven't seen that John Collins. But we are seeing others get the message. Jalen Johnson being one of them. I think we're going to see AJ Griffin getting the message, understanding as he slowly kind of recovers from All Star Weekend.
No
I think
doubt.
that
Yeah.
he's going to continue to go back to the AJ we saw pre All Star. But yeah, I agree. I think it's John Collins. And listen, if you are a John Collins sympathizer and you are really stressed out about what this is going to mean for him, then you probably need to get a Built Bar. It's back to getting a Built Bar to like really just drown your sorrows. But it's okay. Chocolate drowns most people's sorrows, especially
Of
100% chocolate,
course.
or maybe it's churro that's your thing, or maybe it's peanut butter, whatever the flavor is, they pretty much have you covered, right? And they also have you covered if you are someone who continues to want to go online for shopping, so you can still go to built.com and get your Built Bars, but you can go to brick and mortar as well. Stop by Walmart and there is a 4-bar pack that you can pick up. Or if you like to buy in bulk, which I totally love to do that way, I don't have to go to the store as often, then you can go to Sam's Club and get a 13 pack. So again, If that's stressing you out, or if you have started to have some trouble filling out your bracket, then you know what? You might want to get a Built Bar as well. So don't forget, it's really cool because it is healthy for you. That's the most important thing, right? For you to get those 17 grams of protein. And because that bar is soluble, it goes quickly through you and gives you the energy that you need almost immediately. 130 grams of fat and only 4 grams of sugar. That's another key I wanted to share with you guys, because obviously sugar is a challenge for some people. I'm raising my hand. I deal with those challenges. So that would be something to eat that's going to give you even another boost that we wanted to share with you as well. So don't forget, it's your Built Bar if it makes you sad, or this might make you happy and want to get your Built Bar. The NBA and MVP are actually moving closer to agreement to establish a rule that a player must play in a minimum number of games to be eligible for major awards as part of the new collective bargaining agreement. Now, that is according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. So when you start thinking MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, First Team All-NBA, those are major awards that we are talking about. So Jarvis, that has been a point of contention for a lot of fans, that, hey, I walk into the stands and, where's my player? He's not playing tonight. Oh, wow. Load management? Is that what is happening? And you never, ever know sometimes until an hour before the game, sometimes when you have to turn in that final report that player's not playing. So do you think that if this is approved as part of the CBA, it's going to actually maybe put a better product on the floor? Or do you think that somehow the players are still going to figure out how to get around it?
Oh, they're always going to figure a way. I feel like they're always going to figure a way how to get around stuff like that, because at the end of the day, we're talking about professional athletes. Professional athletes can come up with injuries, like, because they play through them all the time. So I don't think that you're going to be going to the team doctors and trying to say, hey, is this real? Or let's see proof of this ankle injury or back soreness or anything like that. So I don't think they're going to go that far. I think putting this rule into play, I think it does make it a little bit more interesting, right? Because you have some guys that, that are of that level to get those awards, and they might want to push themselves to kind of go get those awards. But it's just something that I feel like the NBA is going down a rabbit hole, because ain't nothing you can really do about it, And I think that labeling it as load management is what brought all the attention to, and I think that's why people are getting upset, because at the end of the day, if you got a real injury on there, then nobody gonna know it's load management. So I think that this term that everybody has found out or deemed that's necessary to talk about, I think that's what has gotten people up in an uproar, and the fact that this is being brought out like this, I just think it's just a little weird, because at the end of the day, like, these guys play a lot of games, they get paid a lot of money, and you got to come to some type of medium at some point. And I think that, I don't know if this necessarily is the answer.
Yeah, we shall see. Obviously, the agreement, or the extension rather, for the agreement was extended just a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be at least another month or two. The expectation, that is, another month or two. So we'll definitely continue to bring you any information that we receive. And as always, if you guys want to drop a thought, because it's a very, very lightning rod of a topic. So definitely, if you guys want to chat with us, don't forget Jarvis to tell you how to get connected.
ATLday1s@gmail.com. What are you waiting on in life? I need you to do that. Go ahead and do that. ATLday1s@gmail.com. Get in contact with the show. Any questions, thoughts, comments? You can also drop a comment on this video right here on YouTube. Go ahead and do that. Or if you're listening to this, just keep downloading all of the shows, and you'll be able to catch up with everything that's what's going on right here on ATL Day Ones, and you can find it wherever you find your favorite podcast. So yeah, make sure you go ahead and do that right now. But T, this
Jarvis.
is yes.
Alert! Breaking news! Alert! Falcons have agreed to terms with defensive tackle David Onyemata. I knew that would make you happy, my brother.
What did I just say to start the show, T?
Merry Christmas.
Ryan Nielsen strikes already.
Yes,
this is what I'm talking about right here, T.
Yes,
This
I
is
knew
what
you would want to hear that. And
oh, yes.
If you guys
Amen.
see Jarvis and
Amen.
I the next couple days looking down, it is not that we are ignoring one another. It is because we want to see news like that.
Yes.
We want to bring it to you real time, and then we want to give
Yes.
you guys reaction, because we're not just here to tell you guys what we think should happen, and then it happens, and then we don't talk about it, because you and I have spoken at length about some of the pieces that could make all the difference. And did we not start the show talking about the trenches, going in the trenches and solidifying someone like Chris Lindstrom, going out and there it is, the word priority, making it a priority. And that goes back to a comment, and we gave it a compliment, but a comment that Terry Fontenot made in talking about Ryan Nielsen and reiterating the commentary about winning in the trenches. He is now backing that up just an hour into the legal tampering period, right? So Jarvis, I just wanted to see what your reaction would be on the news, according to multiple sources, that David Onyemata is indeed becoming a Falcon.
See, this is for the culture, y'all. This is
right there.
An exact example for the culture. We talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, because we just get down on this show. We'll switch it up on the fly. That's what we do right here. And I think that the signing of Onyemata really, it brings the Falcons defense. You're starting to see it start to shape out, right? Because Arthur Smith talked about ad nauseum in Arthur Smith fashion about the interior pass rush, that interior push, and how that helps everybody, right? You're starting from the inside out. And I think that whole mindset just makes me happy to be able to say that at this point. As a guy that covers this team and grew up watching this team, when you prioritize that at front tee, I think that is something that you have to appreciate, because it hasn't been done in the past years, and as far as from a talent standpoint, from the draft and in free agency as well. So Terry Fontenot, I'm giving him an A off the top, right now.
And I feel like he's going to be trending like A+. And you know who else is going to newsflash, breaking news.
It's coming in fast and furious.
Exactly. Like, if you don't think that this is like a Christmas type of day for Jarvis and I, then you don't know ATL Day was very well, because we are super duper excited whenever we can break some news to you guys, and whenever we can give you guys some reaction to that as well. So listen, I was having this conversation, Jarvis, this past weekend, right? Because, and I'll give you an example and kind of segue into it. Looking at Jackson State's roster under Mo Williams, who is originally from Jackson, Mississippi. He, of course, was NBA All-Star. The roster was replete with nothing but guys from the Jackson metro area. I mean, up and down. We talk about all the time how Georgia is a hotbed. You've got Gatorade Players of the Year on top of Gatorade Players of the Year in basketball. And yet, we have not seen Georgia Tech rise to the occasion for most of the 7 seasons that Josh Pastner was there. However, when you hire someone like a Damon Stoudemire, I believe that's going to pay dividends. Wow. So yes, the reports are coming down that Georgia Tech is indeed hiring former NBA standout Damon Stoudemire. Once again, I had to give my guys reaction.
Shout out to Stud. See, I was literally just watching the Boston Celtics play the. I had rewatched it because I missed it on Saturday night, so I watched it yesterday morning. And I was looking, I was like, man, look at Damon Stoudemire on the sidelines. Got the gray beard going on, doing his thing. The next thing you know, he coming to Atlanta, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, and
J Bad out here making some moves too.
Yes, J Bad, we're impressed.
Come on now, shout out to you. That is
They're
starting amazing. Let's go.
Spring practice over there at Georgia Tech early to get going, and their spring game is around the corner. So like you said, Jarvis, you're starting to see moves over there at Georgia Tech that tell you that J-Bat is putting a priority on putting a quality product back on the field and on the court. And it is important because I don't know about you, Jarvis, but I'm sure you can attest to it, being an Atlanta area native, how exciting it was back in the day when Tech ball was significant. And
Chris
me
Bosh,
even being from
Stephen
Louisiana,
Marbury,
exactly. I know
it was just
Dennis,
dudes,
right? Chris Bosh, like we know. Excuse me, and I'm losing it, but I'm thinking of a guy who. Did you say Jared Jack? We said
not Jared Jack. Bryce Elder.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
BJ Elder. I mean,
no, I knew exactly who you meant. But when you begin to think of those guys who literally paved the way for Georgia Tech to be that school, known as that basketball school. And then all of a sudden it went away. And Jose Alvarado started giving us a taste of it with some of the things he's been doing with the Pels this year. But other than Jose Alvarado, it's been a minute since we've been able to, on this show and really anywhere, talk about Georgia Tech basketball. So hopefully, as the reports are coming down from Adrian Wojnarowski, Pete Thamel, and a number of other credible sources, Damon Stoudemire will be your Jackets coach come fall for men's basketball.
Well, folks, I think we I don't think we can bring you. We can drop in bombs all day on this show. But we also just want to say thank you guys for rocking with us and making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, you can also check out Locked On Sports Today. I'm sure they'll be talking about what we just talked about because the news is coming in fast and furious, and obviously we'll be updating and updating you all tomorrow on the show as far as who the Falcons signed, who Terry Fontenot, what defensive edge rusher he gonna bring in, because hey man, it's all about the front right now when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm absolutely happy about that. And you can find Locked On Sports Today wherever you find this podcast, so make sure you check those people out. And last but not least, before we get out of here, on a day of just we're out here like real journalists, T. So I'm going to ask you guys to do one thing. If you don't do anything else before the day is over, make sure you guys share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.